Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor, and I'm so excited to be sharing this particular show with you. Uh, you know, with everything going on, lying, cheating, stealing, corruption, um, sexual issues, chaos and confusion, and that's just in the United States. Multiply it out by what's going on in other countries with war and poverty. We needed some good news. And yesterday we got it because Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are engaged to be married. Everybody is so rooting for them because love is the universal antidote. It truly is. So I've got their charts. I know the birth times are accurate. I'm going to share them with you. I'm going to tell you about what makes each of them tick very simply. And there's a lot more, of course, that goes into a chart interpretation, but I think I can narrow it down and bottom line it for you so that you get a lovely picture of these two. And isn't it fabulous that they came together? This could not have happened before now. After I tell you about each chart, then I'm going to tell you what his chart triggers in hers and what her chart triggers in his. And there are a few outstanding aspects that I'm so thrilled about because they are textbook for two people in love. So I'm going to start. Let me start with Prince Harry. And again, this is a very simplified interpretation. He is quite a guy. First of all, some of you have asked me to please give the degrees. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you their birth data. Prince Harry was born September 15th, 1984 at 4:20 p.m. in London, England, obviously. And Meghan Markle was born August 4th, 1981 at 4:46 a.m. in Canoga Park, California. Starting with Harry. Harry has, let me get this, if you could see what's going on this table, you would not believe it. All righty. Harry has a Capricorn ascendant and Meghan has a Cancer ascendant. Even if they're not within orb of each other, degree-wise, they can balance each other out because opposites, of course, are the same, two different sides of the same coin. So when you look at a chart, the first thing that your eye goes to is what you start with. At least that's what I do. And I've got the sun in yellow here just so that you see what the center of his life is about. So let's just start there with that 8th house. The 8th house is the house of secrets. It is transformation. It is getting to the bottom of things. It wants to know it wants to know where we come from and where we go when we leave here. Prince Harry is a Virgo. His sun is in 22 degrees of Virgo. The sun is daddy's message to us. And so his father's message was, keep your life private. And we know that that was a good part of Prince Charles's life. It also means help, the 8th house is help other people create the wherewithal. In other words, be a generous leader. And the center of your life is where the sun is. And so there is a great deal about Prince Harry that we do not know about because it is private. That is what he wants. His Mercury, which is what we think about and talk about, is also in Virgo in the 8th house. And so he wants to get down to the details of what's going on. He doesn't want to skim the surface. And he has beautiful, lovely Venus, which is love, which is absolutely beautiful. It is in its own sign, Libra. Yes, I better use these glasses, otherwise I'll tell you wrong. It is in Libra, and wherever Venus is what we love. Um, Venus is behind his ninth house of travel, of foreigners, and so he would love to. His love can take place, first of all, privately. It's in the eighth house, and a good bit of their courtship was private, as well as long distance. And so he would naturally be attracted to people from other lands. And of course, this is the beautiful woman he's going to be marrying. But he loves his privacy. Venus is what we love. What you think about and talk about is Mercury. And so he is very much involved in getting, perhaps during his military training, military time, being on the ground floor of what is really going on. Look at that ninth house. He has both Pluto and Saturn in that ninth house. Now, Pluto is control or transformation. Pluto is also the family matriarch. Whether she is living or not, that matriarch is the one that makes the rules. And we know, of course, that his grandmother, the queen, is the matriarch of that family. Part of his belief system involves control or transformation, because Pluto is death and rebirth, total transformation, which means that, particularly so with Saturn in his ninth house, both of these are in Scorpio, all or nothing Scorpio. Pluto in its own sign, Scorpio, is truly all or nothing, so that when he makes up his mind to do something, he is willing to get rid of the old, out with the old, in with the new. And isn't that what he's in the process now of doing in his own life with his beautiful fiancée? So the matriarch said, you have to be in control. You have to, or she implied, or even said, because obviously we are not privy to their private conversations, transform. And that's what he does around the world. He helps other people. He helps them to transform. Saturn is a very traditional planet, and his belief system involves a certain amount of tradition. But see Pluto there, now they're not conjunct. Pluto's in 0 Scorpio, Saturn is in 12 Scorpio, the midheaven is 17 Scorpio. So there's a hidden traditional attitude that he has when it comes to being a leader. If I remember correctly, and you may have to let me know if I'm off base here, I think he's third in line. So he may be one of those behind the scenes rulers rather than out front. He does love to travel, of course. So that's what's going on there. Look at that South Node in the 10th house. South Node is what we have mastered in past lives. And he has mastered leadership in past lives. Now, because we've mastered it, we are instinctively drawn to it. And what it says is that wherever the South Node is, if you put too much of your energy there, too much of your attention there, it can drain you. Instead, work with the North Node, because this is the area of your greatest fulfillment and happiness. And what we've got here is the North Node is in the 4th house of home, family, real estate, and this is where he will find his greatest happiness. Now, as long as we're in the 4th house, let's talk about the moon. The moon is mother, Princess Diana. And wherever the moon is, that's where your mother told you, either verbally or non-verbally, to look for your emotional security to be fulfilled. She doesn't say you'll find it there, she just says look for it there. So what we do is we combine the South Node and the North Node. Yes, he has leadership, of course, he's adored all over the world. And making a home for himself is going to give him enormous fulfillment. Look at that beautiful 11th house. We have Uranus there and Mars. Uranus is the rebel. Now, if you have planets in the 11th house, you are a disguised Aquarian, which means you march to your own drumbeat, you are a humanitarian, and you care about the people of the world. You care about other people's children. Who are other people's children? Everyone walking this planet. And Harry has demonstrated that. By the way, the South Node in the 10th house makes him a disguised Capricorn. He does have the Capricorn ascendant, so he is traditional in many ways. The 9th house planets indicate he's a disguised Sagittarian. So he wants truth. He wants to get to the bottom of truth. And his beliefs will undergo a transformation they may have already in this lifetime. With Uranus in the 11th house, he's got some very unique friends. And he is truly the humanitarian. And with Mars in Sag, in that 11th house, wherever Mars is, that's what we throw ourselves into. That's what we put first in our lives. Other people's children. Humanity. That's what this 11th house is. And so naturally, when he met Meghan, and she was interested in humanity and causes that he espouses, naturally, they were attracted to each other. Okay, the Capricorn ascendant, serious person. All right. The 8th house, a lot of private activity along the lines of fun. And anything in the 8th house is going to be transformed in this lifetime. So his thinking, his ego, and his love nature, all undergoing a transformation. His vertex is in the 7th house of partnership. And so his karmic role is one-on-one with people, to be involved in the one-on-one relationship. I'm not just speaking of marriage, I'm talking about when he interacts with people, he wants to do it one-on-one. And then, of course, that beautiful 11th house indicates wanting to be one with humanity. The moon and north node in the 4th house, disguised Cancerian, home, family, real estate, very important. Now let's take a look at Meghan's chart. Quite different, don't you think? Harry's is out front with other people in position of leadership. Meghan is more dealing with the basics of life. She has a Cancerian ascendant, which makes her, believe it or not, shy and sensitive and self-protective. Now, I'm going to back up into the 12th house. Whoops, let me put her chart under my laptop so I can see it and speak intelligently about it. There we go. Okay. Her Mars is in Cancer, in 11 degrees of Cancer, and some of you are already, your minds are going. You already know what I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. And so wherever Mars is what comes first to her. Her privacy comes first to her. Her solitude. She is a disguised Pisces with that 12th house, a dreamer, a romantic. Look at this awesome first house. Even though Cancer is on the ascendant and it makes her self-protective and sensitive, she is a great, grand, glorious Leo. The North Node is in her first house, and that North Node says, this is the lifetime in which you want to put yourself first. She's a disguised Aries in that way. Put yourself first. This will be your greatest fulfillment. The South Node says, you have given to others one-on-one in past lives, and so you're naturally attracted to the one-on-one relationship, particularly since she has the moon in Libra, Saturn in Libra, and Jupiter in Libra, all three of which rule partnership. Partnership is important to her. And so what she's going to do is perhaps find somebody from her past, and naturally a marriage is a karmic relationship. This is her first marriage, 7th house. The 9th house is her second marriage, and on the 9th cusp she has Pisces, the dreamer. Isn't that beautiful? So the first house sun says her father's message to her is to put yourself first and do what you want, when you want, how you want, because you want. Mercury, what she thinks about and talks about, herself, because this is the lifetime in which she chose to do that. A lot of people have planets in their first house. And they've asked me, gosh, the first house is a disguised Aries, which is me, me, me. Does that make me selfish? No, not at all. This is, I mean, not necessarily, you might be selfish, but that does not indicate selfishness. This indicates self-confidence, which Meghan certainly needs with that beautiful, sensitive Cancerian ascendant. This is the lifetime in which you're saying, look, I have lived incarnations before in which I was not putting myself first, and now I'm going to do that. I have put other people first, and now I'm putting myself first. I don't want you to think she's going to run away with a crown, because she won't. These two people love each other, and I'll show you that in just a second. Now let's look at that third house. This is a communicator. She's a disguised Gemini because she's got all those planets in the third house. She has Venus there in Virgo. So Venus is what you love. She loves to talk. She loves to communicate. The moon is there. The moon is what we are instinctively drawn to. And her mother, it's mommy's message about where to find your emotional fulfillment. Well, through speech, through communicating. She is an actress. Those two Leo planets speak that very, very clearly. And she will express her emotions, but she'll do it in Libra fashion, politically correctly. Saturn is conjunct the moon, and this can indicate a serious outlook about life. Even as a child, when she was about 2 years old, she really expressed herself quite beautifully. And as she got older, this seriousness of her family situation became part of the way she expressed herself. Maybe a certain amount of restriction. Maybe she was told, no, don't really speak up because you don't want to be necessarily noticed. But then she's got Jupiter in that third house, and she will tell it like it is. She will express herself. So she's got opposite messages. Be proper and yet let it all hang out. Saturn is man's law. Jupiter is God's law. Wow, awesome. The moon rules her first house. She will express her own emotions, her own opinions. Brava to her. She has Pluto in her fourth house, and this is the matriarch, whether grandmother or mother. And so there's a very strong element of control in her family. And there was a big change in her family life when she was 10 years old. For those of you who study astrology, the fourth cusp is 11 Libra 48. Pluto is 21 Libra 51. So 10 years after she was born, there was an upheaval in the family. Whether it was divorce or death, there was a transformation. And so there is a part of her that wants to hang on to home and family as a result. Once again, the third house planets are disguised Gemini. Fourth house Pluto, disguised Cancerian. Well, not that disguised. She has a Cancer ascendant. Look at that fifth house. As a Leo, this really amplifies her creativity, her fun. She has Uranus in that fifth house of fun. What do we consider fun? Well, let's see now. Music, drinking, eating, sex, sports, anything that is fun. She has a very unique way of expressing it. There's an adventurous here who will try anything. Oh, how wonderful. Now it's hard to read. My handwriting is not the best. You all know that. Her vertex is in that fifth house. And so her karmic role in life involves children. It involves entertainment, which is where she has been. It involves fun. In addition, Neptune is right on that sixth cusp. And I don't think I made that really clear here. Let me just circle this. I didn't want to put it right on that line because between my handwriting and the cusp, it gets confused. The sixth house of work. Neptune rules the movies. It rules wine. It rules It rules nicotine, alcohol, caffeine. It rules escapes. It rules divine inspiration. Her sixth cusp is 22 Sag 49. Neptune is 22 Sag 19, right behind that cusp, pretty really on it. And so she wants to escape into her work. How beautiful. Her work is that of actress. Whether she'll pursue that or not when she's married, we don't know. But the desire to serve Neptune in her work can be expressed many, many ways, especially because she and Harry both are about helping other people. Their charitable organizations are very important to them. So that's her chart. Now, what I want to do is show you what each of them triggers in the other. When we compare two people's charts, there's a lot involved. When I do a comparison, if I were to do a comparison on you and someone you loved, the first thing I would do is read your birth charts to you. Because if, for example, if you are very, very frugal and you meet someone who is a gambler or a spendthrift, there are going to be problems. So you want to know that going into the relationship. If one of you has had a very difficult childhood where you felt unloved and unwanted, you're going to look for your partner to fulfill that. And your partner might not be able to do that. If you see what I'm saying, you start with a birth chart. Then you compare it. And I know in a chart comparison, we use all of the aspects. Yes, I know about declinations and parallels and contraparallels. To me, conjunctions tell the tale. Those of you who've studied astrology with me, those of you who've had your chart done by me, know that somewhere in my conversation, I've brought up my mantra, conjunctions tell the tale. So let's first of all, we got to look at Harry's chart first because it's just classic. I just love it. The first thing, and I have put red lines next to those aspects that I think are just so, wonderful. Let's just look over here. I have circled Mars. Meghan's planets are in green around the outer edge of Harry's planets. This is Harry's seventh house of marriage. Mars is what we throw ourselves into. Mars is what comes first with us. Mars is passion. It's sex. It's energy. Her Mars, I'm going to give you the degrees here because it's unbelievable. Here we go. Her Mars is 11 Cancer 23. His descendant, his seventh cusp, 11 Cancer 26. I don't know if he was consciously aware of it, but the minute he met her, he was married. He didn't have a prayer. This guy, head over heels. He thought in terms of marriage. And of course, the time is right because he's of an age where he wants children. He's ready to settle down. This is just priceless. And I kept thinking, oh, poor Prince Harry. He didn't have a prayer. And I'm being facetious. This is just lovely. Now, look at Meghan's planets in his seventh house. Her ascendant, which is the most personal point in the chart, is in his seventh house. And so she is giving herself to him. Her north node is in his seventh house. So this is going to work out so beautifully. Her Mercury, what we think about and talk about, when he met her, they started talking right away. And he thought about her and he communicated with her. And his son, her son, in his seventh house. Let me see the degrees here. Yes. Her Sun in his 7th house means that she is the center of his life. Hello, we don't have to go any further, but we will, because it's just so lovely. Now let's look at his 8th house. Now this 8th house is a very intense, very deep house. It traditionally is called sex, death, and goods of the dead. This is old-timey astrology. It's secrets. It's that which you are working on the deepest level. It also rules the psychic, and people with a strong 8th house are interested in astrology. I'm just saying. Her Venus sits on his Sun. Venus is love, the Sun is the ego. When one person's Venus sits on another person's Sun, or if you prefer, when one person's Sun sits on the other person's Venus, that is love. That's it. So they love each other. You can see it's not put on. They really do. Her Venus is on his Mercury. And so her love opens his thinking. They have a meeting of the minds, a loving meeting of the minds, which is gorgeous. Now, her Moon, which is it's change, it's the psychic. Her, even though there are no other conjunctions here in the 8th house from her planets, the fact that her Venus, which is love, her Moon, which is what she's instinctively drawn to, her Saturn, which is reality and you should and you ought to, and her Jupiter, which is expansion. This opens up his mind to helping other people. It also opens him up to more of the psychic, more of the intuitive, and more of the transformative nature of that 8th house. She opens him up on the deepest level. Now let's move into that 9th house. Her Pluto, which is control or transformation. It's a very intense Pluto. Her Pluto, her Pluto is in Libra. Yes, her Pluto is 21 Libra. His Pluto is 0 Scorpio. So their karmic groups overlap. The fact that their belief systems, what she triggers, her Pluto sitting on his Pluto, triggers a transformation in his thinking, an upheaval, and out with the old, in with the new. And that's what their relationship brings to the world. But the biggie is her Pluto on his Venus. When you have Venus, which is love, and Pluto, which is intense passion, that's what they have in their relationship. It's gorgeous. Okay. Her Uranus sits on his South Node. Uranus is the rebel. In her chart, it's in her 11th house. And so she rebels, in his chart, it's in his 11th house. Her Uranus on his South Node could have brought scandal because of her background. Not today. People adore her. They adore him. She brings an unusual tone to his public image. The fact that she is mixed race, the fact that she is an actress, the fact that she is a divorcee, nobody cares nowadays. And the love between them is so clear. Her vertex sits on his South Node, even though her vertex is in his 11th house. Her role is to trigger his image, a unique image, of course, with her Uranus there. And her vertex is on his Uranus. And so she is opening him up to new ideas, new hopes and wishes, new groups. Her Neptune sits on his Neptune. So that's the karmic tie. But her Neptune on his Mars, Mars's passion, Neptune softens it, eases it, helps it along. Okay. Her South Node is in his first house, and it helps him come into his own. I don't see the South Node as negative. If you spend too much time with your South Node, it can drain you. You want to work with both nodes. And her midheaven, her public image, can help bring, change his values and bring money to their union. Now, let's look over here. And once again, this is going to get a little busy here right now. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'll just say it. First of all, Harry's moon and north node are in her 11th house, opening up her humanitarian side, introducing her to the people of the world in a way perhaps that she may not have. Awesome. His vertex and Mercury are in her second house. It's going to help her finances. Nothing wrong with that. His Mercury on her Venus and his Sun on her Venus. We talked about the Venus-Sun connection and the Mercury-Venus connection. So she is thinking loving thoughts and communicating lovingly. His Venus on her Pluto, again, the passion is awesome. Her Pluto's in her fourth house. This is the very foundation of her life. He brings a loving home to her. And of course, the transformation will be that she's going to be living in a palace or something resembling a palace. Their Plutos are conjunct, and so there is transformation that they'll bring to their family. And Harry will bring love to her, which will transform her need to be in control to being in charge. His Saturn brings a very traditional structure, home, family, real estate, and of course his love of his mother, everyone's love of his mother, so important. And so he can help he can help her deal with the matriarch in her family. Look at that beautiful fifth house. First of all, his South Node triggers her need for fun and her role with children. They're going to be bringing children into the family. Uranus, since it deals with Aquarius, and in Prince Harry's chart, it's in the 11th house. There can be adopted children. They're so interested in the children of the world. It wouldn't surprise me if they adopted. Not that they wouldn't have their own, but that they would enlarge their family. His Uranus on her vertex, his South Node on her vertex, he triggers her role with children. And possibly, I know people are saying she's not going to do acting anymore, but we just don't know about that yet. And his Mars on her vertex. Mars is passion. So these two are having lots of fun. They're very passionate. And he triggers her passion. Her Neptune, of course, as I said, is right on that sixth cusp. And his Mars can really fire up her desire to serve. His Neptune is conjunct her Neptune. And so they both want to serve. He triggers her ability to serve more. With his Jupiter in her sixth house, she will love her work. And with his ascendant there, he will help her with he will personally help her on the job, so to speak. And she will feel incredibly fulfilled because she can fulfill some dream relating to health, relating to service. Did I cover everything? I talked about the moon and the north node in the 11th house of humanity. Just beautiful. So I know that we wish them only the best. They are such a beautiful couple, and I'm going to watch their charts carefully. I can't wait to do the wedding diurnals on them. You know, the diurnals tell what really goes on a particular day. So there will be more. So, dear friends, here is a gorgeous light that brings us hope, that tells us that love is truly the universal antidote. Till we talk again, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours, and Harry and Meghan.